Long before the skyscrapers and endless traffic, Lagos was not a city. It was a stretch of islands, marshes, and lagoons. The earliest people to settle here were the Awori, a Yoruba subgroup, who arrived hundreds of years ago. They built small fishing and farming communities on the islands of Ito and Lagos Island, calling their settlement Iko. The waters of the lagoon provided fish, the fertile soil supported yam and cassava farming, and canoes moved people from one island to another. It was a quiet life, marked by rituals, festivals, and trade with neighboring Yoruba towns. By the 15th century, the powerful Benin Empire turned its gaze westward. The Oba of Benin, seeking to expand his influence and secure new trade routes, sent warriors to conquer Iko. They succeeded. The town became a military outpost, ruled under the authority of the Oba. The governor appointed to oversee it was called the Ashipa, and through him, the Benin Empire maintained its grip on the settlement. It was during this era that Portuguese explorers arrived in 1472. To them, the island's lagoons and trade reminded them of a port city in Portugal, which they also called Lagos. The name stuck, and from then on, the town was known to the outside world as Lagos. At first, trade with the Europeans was balanced. Pepper, ivory, and fabrics exchanged for weapons, spirits, and other goods. But by the 16th century, the most profitable trade became human lives. Lagos evolved into one of the busiest slave ports in West Africa. Enslaved men, women, and children were captured from surrounding regions and shipped across the Atlantic in exchange for European wealth and firepower. The Obas of Lagos grew powerful through this trade. Palaces expanded, armies strengthened, and Lagos became a hub of wealth and influence. But power also invited conflict. The Yoruba Empire of Oyo, neighboring kingdoms, and even rival claimants to the throne of Lagos fought bitterly for control. Through conquest, trade, and bloodshed, Lagos transformed. What began as a quiet Awori settlement became a Benin war camp, and soon after, a city that Europeans and Africans alike could not ignore. Lagos did not remain a small fishing village for long. Its lagoon, islands, and access to the Atlantic Ocean made it one of the most strategic locations on the West African coast. By the 15th century, Portuguese explorers arrived, calling the area Lago de Curamo, later shortened to Lagos, meaning lakes. They established trading contacts with the people, exchanging cloth, guns, and alcohol for ivory, spices, and eventually enslaved people. The lagoon settlement became entangled in the Atlantic slave trade, a dark chapter that would shape its destiny. As centuries passed, European interest grew, particularly that of the British. By the early 19th century, Lagos was a contested space, ruled by the Oba, but pressured by both local wars and European demands. The British, seeking to abolish the slave trade yet expand their influence, turned Lagos into a target. In 1851, British naval forces bombarded Lagos in the infamous Bombardment of Lagos. Smoke rose over the lagoon, and the rule of Oba Kosoko was toppled. By 1861, Lagos was annexed as a British colony, cementing foreign control over its destiny. Under British rule, Lagos rapidly transformed. The slave trade gave way to palm oil, cocoa, and kola nut trade, with new docks, warehouses, and roads constructed. Missionaries introduced Western education, while colonial officials imposed new laws and governance. The city became the entry point for modern infrastructure in Nigeria: railways, printing presses, and later electricity. But Lagos was not just a colonial outpost. It became the beating heart of resistance and nationalism. Newspapers criticized colonial rule, activists gave speeches in markets, and young Nigerians demanded self-rule. The lagoon city that once saw slave ships now became a voice for freedom. By the 20th century, Lagos had become Nigeria's largest city and a cultural melting pot, home to Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, and immigrants from across West Africa. It was here that leaders like Herbert Macaulay and later Nnamdi Azikiwe stirred the flames of independence. Finally, in 1960, Nigeria gained independence, and Lagos was chosen as its first capital city. The once small fishing settlement had now become the gateway of Africa's biggest nation. Even today, echoes of its past remain. The lagoon still shimmers under the sun, the palaces of the Obas still stand, and the streets of Lagos still carry the weight of centuries of struggle, trade, and triumph.